Let me guess, you're on the verge of buying the critically acclaimed 510 Freerides. This is of course assuming you found a place that will actually sell them to you. But either way, in this video we will be discussing whether 510s are really worth the $200 price tag, and if they're even better than just a pair of Vans or even just Nikes. So we're going to be reviewing these mountain biking shoes by 6 different criteria, which are durability, ventilation, comfort, stiffness, traction, and pedal grip. And the first thing we'll be talking about is stiffness, because if you've never worn a pair of mountain biking shoes like I hadn't, this is definitely the first thing you'll notice. And the reason the mountain bike shoes are so stiff is completely because of efficiency. When the shoe you're wearing mountain biking is stiff, a lot more of your energy is going to be transferred directly and more efficiently onto your pedal strokes, whereas if you're wearing a pair of Nikes or even Vans, it's going to be not near as stiff and a lot of it's going to be wasted. So that's definitely something you're going to want to keep in your mind when deciding whether to actually take the plunge and get 510s. Can I personally say I've noticed it? No, but I can imagine it is making a difference and I just haven't felt it. But aside from that, another great reason to get stiff shoes is because of protection. Let's say you're riding down the trail and there's going to be a jump, a drop, or pretty much anything that'll put an impact onto your feet, which happens a ton. You're going to want a stiffer bottom shoe because it's going to more evenly distribute that impact and it's going to protect your ankle and just overall be a lot better for your entire foot. Another reason is that let's say you're whipping down the trail and you need to really stop really fast, so you stick your foot down and there's a root or something. Having a stiffer bottom sole is going to protect the bottom bones of your feet a lot better, whereas a pair of Nikes is a lot softer, not near as stiff as a pair of 510s, and you can really hurt your foot, as you can see I did here. Ow, my foot! Ugh, still recovering from that one. But either way, I'd have to say that the 510s are very impressive for their protection, very good heel support, nice stiff soles, and also really good toe protection. Everything about the shoe is super protective, and you feel it when you ride. It gives you an extra bit of confidence and make you think, well, I'm a little more protected than I usually would be. So it definitely takes the cake over something like Vans or Nikes that obviously are meant for mountain biking, but don't have anywhere close to the protection. And also something that I definitely noticed was that with this stiff bottom of the shoe, your pedal placement doesn't matter near as much, which if you think about it definitely makes sense, because if you have a soft bottom shoe like a Nike, you have to have your feet placement perfect to make sure that your weight's being perfectly put on the pedal, whereas with 510s, you have the stiffness, you kind of can play around with it and move it around. Because of that stiff sole, it doesn't matter near as much. And one thing I know a lot of people thought as soon as I said that they were stiff shoes is that means they're not going to be comfortable. But as much as it may surprise you, it actually means the opposite, because like I said, your foot placement doesn't matter near as much, so even if your foot is slightly off, you're not going to feel it, it's not going to hurt your ankles or anything, and that increases the comfort a ton, as well as the sidewalls of the shoes are very thick and foamy. Everything about the shoe is pretty nice, and I have to say it, the laces are probably the best on any pair of shoe in general I've ever worn. They are super easy to tighten and loosen and just expertly crafted. And even though the insoles are fairly thin and not even close to as thick as Vans Ultra Cush, which are so comfortable, these shoes are pretty dang comfortable and pretty much everything you can ask for a shoe that is made with ocean plastic recycled material, so that's pretty cool. Overall, I'd say comfort is just fine. But 510 did do a pretty good job at keeping them lightweight. Even with the thick walls, they're still not that heavy, just barely heavier than my Vans, I'd say, so pretty good there. But one thing that the thick sidewalls do affect is ventilation. These shoes do not have the greatest ventilation. Even just looking at them, they look like a winter boot almost, but I mean, not horrible. It's not like my feet are absolutely killing me while I ride, but I can definitely feel they're a bit hotter than my Vans, and especially the Nikes. But I mean, look at the Nike sidewalls, they're insanely thin, so a little hotter than most shoes, I'd say, but you're getting so much more protection, you have to give up a little bit, but overall not too bad for ventilation. And the next thing we'll talk about is traction, and this isn't pedal grip that's coming up, this is about walking. With the stiff sole, you may come to the conclusion that they're going to feel like walking around in bowling shoes, but this isn't the case at all. They're actually fairly comfortable for walking around the house and everything like that. You can definitely use them for all that kind of stuff. I personally won't, because I don't want them to be worn off on stuff that's not riding your bike, but if you want to use them around the house, you can totally do that. You see guys like Seth Bike Hacks doing that all the time, so definitely an option you can do. But one drawback from the stiffer soles and hard plastic on the bottom is that they are very slippery shoes. Rex and I were riding in the city with these shoes, and we had to hike up a hill, and I was slipping all over the place. So having that hard plastic on the bottom is definitely going to make you more slippery. Not even close to as good as Vans or runners, but I mean, it's just not what they're meant for. So pretty much what I'm saying is they're not the greatest jogging shoes out there. But one thing that the hard rubber is definitely better for is durability. As you can see here are a pair of Nike runners that my dad have been riding bike with for around the last 2 to 3 years, and you can see they are absolutely beat to crap. The pins completely tear apart the foam and the soft layer that runners often have, so really not good for durability. Whereas here are a pair of Vans that I've been riding with for around the last 3 years, and they are pretty good condition, I'd say. I mean, the waffle grips are still pretty beat up, but I've been riding a ton in the last 3 years, and they still grip pretty well, which we'll talk about right away, but not too bad. But these 510s I expect to be able to put up pretty well, but I've definitely seen some mixed reviews online. Some people are saying that their shoes have really worn off in 2 months. Others have said they've been riding them for years. I expect they're going to be putting up pretty well with this harder rubber, but I mean, only time will really tell, and for the 3 weeks around that I've been riding with these shoes, there is not a scratch on the bottom, so I expect they're going to be putting up pretty well. And now we will talk about what I think is personally the most important thing about mountain biking shoes, which is grip on the pedals. And I will first of all preface this by saying I ride with Raceface Atlas pedals, pretty high-end aluminum pedals. I've been riding them for years, and I've never had a problem with traction with my Vans, but I'm here to say that my 510s are not as good as my Vans. I know, I probably should have told you to sit down for that, but it's the truth. Honestly, the 510s are always raved about so much online about the grip and how it's amazing, but they're really not as good as my Vans. And I even went so far as to try different pedals. I tried Rex's pedals, which are 1-ups that I've seen people online, and I've even talked to someone in person and they said that the 1-ups were great with 510s. But honestly, aside from my bike looking absolutely stunning with the green pedals, I honestly might steal them from Rex. But anyway, I do have to say that these pedals only made a slight improvement. They really weren't too much better. My feet were still slipping a bit, and I'm not here to say that the grip is absolutely awful with these shoes. It's still pretty good and definitely better than a lot of other shoes, but it's not as good as my Vans. My Vans are absolute glue on the pedals, and they've been that for 3 years, even through the wear and tear and everything like that. So maybe a little disappointed because everyone loves to rave about the grip of 510s, but while they were better than the Nikes, they definitely weren't better than my Vans. And the last thing you're gonna see me doing is going around buying $200 pedals here and there, trying to get them to make my shoes feel better, because then you're gonna become a company like Apple, where you have to get all these attachments to make the first product work, and nobody likes Apple. But anyways, guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Here are some clips of me riding around in the city. I needed to include these because I know there's some people who are like, oh, you rode them around one afternoon at your house and now you're making a review. No, okay? I went to the city for about 2 weeks straight. I rode them a ton, and this is my review of them after that. So no, I didn't just ride them for one afternoon. But anyway, my final verdict is that these are fantastic shoes. I definitely look forward to riding with them. They are just so protective, and the stiffness of the shoe allows me to not worry about where my foot is, and just everything about them. They're great, except the grip. It's not as good as my Vans. So overall, can I recommend them to the average Joe who's going to be riding once a week, maybe even less than that? Probably not. I mean, it's $200. They're not going to be as grippy, but they will be more protective. So maybe you just self-assess, see if it's worth it for you, and go for it if it is. But anyway, that's the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Look at that.
Got jammed in there pretty good.
See that hole? There you go. Man, night riding is fun.
Scary stories.
Yeah.